As you can see, I've got Manju's dining room table here. Manju was very vocal about saying that she doesn't like waste, she doesn't want to see the table sent to landfill, it's still a usable item. So I've decided that I'm going to sand it and paint it to fit it in with the theme in the room, and I think it's going to look really good. If you'd like to upcycle a table yourself, here are a few tips. Always go with the grain of the wood, because otherwise you're going to be working against it and make your job harder. I find for a table like this, which has got quite a lot of old varnish on it, it's much easier to use a sander like this than it is to do it by hand, because you're going to be there for ages and it's going to be really tiring and you could always chip a nail. You need to get the paper on there as tight as possible, because if it's going to move about, you're going to end up splitting it there and wasting it, it's going to come off. Also, this sander's really good because not only can you Velcro the pads on, which are much more expensive, you can just buy the normal rolls of sanding paper and you can just clip them in there. So that's going to save you a lot of money as well. And another thing is people are always breaking sanders by pushing too hard on them. You see them pushing really hard like that, you're actually working against the sander because it's the friction of it moving that's taking the finish off the table. So light pressure, keeping control of it, and if you can get a sander with a pressure gauge on it there, you know you're not pushing too hard, which is always good for a first-time sander. Depending on what finish you're going to apply to your table, that will govern how much you need to sand it. With this table, I'm going to be re-varnishing it, so I really want to get a good key and get most of it off, but if there's still some on there, it's not going to matter too much because I'm just using the same thing again. If I wanted to beeswax it, I'd really have to get off all of that varnish, because otherwise you're going to end up with patches on it. And again, if you're going to paint it, you just need to get a good key in it to get the paint to stick. I've just finished sanding my tabletop, and as you can see, it's created a lot of dust. Please remember, if you're doing this inside, you've got to wear a face mask and goggles because this dust gets everywhere, and I mean everywhere. That's lovely, it's come up really nice and smooth. It's taken out all those surface imperfections, and now it's ready to varnish. I've just scratched it lightly. That's all that really needs for the paint, and now I'm just going to try and get all these little fiddly bits. It's what takes the time. Still working on my table. As you can see, I've sanded the legs, and I've decided to move around the back of the house because obviously I'm going to have to leave this paint and primer to dry, and I don't want someone running off with the table after I've done most of the hard work for them. So I'm just going to dust off all the shavings, because if you paint before you've dusted, then you're gonna use a lot more paint and it's going to be all clogged up, and it's not good. So give it a little brush off like that. Now we're ready to paint on the primer. This is just a standard primer you can buy at any DIY store. It's always good to use a primer because it means your paint's going to go on better, you're going to get better coverage, and it won't come off. It's always good to use a nylon brush as well. Spend a little bit more on your brushes, because otherwise you find the fibres come out in your paint and your primer, and then you've got to pick them off and it makes a right mess. So it's worth spending a little bit extra on a good brush. Just getting all those little nooks and crannies. Can't wait to finish all of them. I think the duck egg blue is going to look really good. The fun bit's getting the colour on there.